Mr. President, I would like to draw your attention to this fact and this truth. The national anthem cannot unite a nation. A national pledge cannot unite a nation. A constitution cannot unite a nation. A nation is united by the ideals of freedom. A nation is united by equity and by justice.
One of those people I respect in Nigeria is Senator Seun Sani. He's one of the people who can speak truth to power no matter whom you are. On June 12th, that was about a few days ago, he was given a microphone to speak during the dinner of the Democracy Day organized by Tinubu. In the presence of the president, he told Tinubu what he needed to hear. So before we go into the full details of what he said, very interesting speech. Before we go into that details, what is your thought about the presidential aircraft and vice presidential aircraft? That is two aircrafts that the Nigerian government want to buy. Now, remember that few months ago, there were some news that president escaped dead, the vice president escaped dead. So their aircraft was having faults. But there is a suggestion that so many countries of the world, their presidents sometimes fly commercial, that Nigeria don't have money now to buy a presidential jet. Others are saying that the life of, politicians, even though they are misbehaving, their life is also important, that we should buy presidential jet for them. Let's listen to how Rufai Sani reacted to this buying of the presidential fleet. Why we come back to what Seun Sani said later.
I mean, the sad reality is this. In a country where we don't have accountability, paying minimum wage will be harder than jam question. Truth has to be said. There is no big deal about paying this minimum wage if we run government efficiently.
Correct.
In the same country, the governor of Niger State, his deputy, speaker, they all went for Hajj at whose expense? In the same country, we see leaders flying private jets everywhere. In the same country, we saw 21 billion earmarked or being spent on a vice presidential residence. I keep asking, Dr. Bati, you are a villa man. Was not a place that Nnamdi Kanu stayed before now? Is there not a place for the vice president? Why build 21 billion at a time that we are suffering? In the same country, some parts of the National Assembly were saying that, the presidential fleet is not working well. But they are talking of potential of getting a new one. We're talking about yacht last year.
Well, the safety of the president is very important.
Okay.
So we need a serviceable aircraft in the presidential fleet.
We need a serviceable aircraft.
Not aircraft that will be dropping from the sky. I think the safety of the commander-in-chief is important. And
the one that we bought before, that we serviced before, all of a sudden we have a need to buy a new one. So is it a must that we must now use taxpayers' money that's not even available to now buy a new one? When are they going to make sacrifice? Do presidents of other countries not fly commercial? I mean, let's ask ourselves this question now. Can we afford a presidential fleet at a time when things are dire? But they want all the luxuries of office. All of a sudden, the same plane that the son of the president was caught using last year is the one that's not bad. And look at all these people. Before they became leaders, they had their own private jets. But now it's the states that must pay for everything. That's why we can't pay minimum wage. At the same time, you have massive corruption. That's why when you even look at it, the 2-point-something billion World Bank lent us, we're supposed to do something good. When you investigate the money, how are we going to spend it? So these are the other factors. People are, these are the likes of the things Falana is saying. If you shun corruption, recover almost all the looted money and all of that, things will work well in this country. We keep asking ourselves questions we cannot answer. Why all of this excess spending? In the same country, we use 90 billion for Hajj. I even hear that money was more than 90 billion because 90 billion was what the government put down because of the currency fluctuation. What the state spent cumulatively was going to hundreds of billions because each state had the amounts they spent to support the people doing all of this. So we are subsidizing religion, and when we're supposed to pay the workers now, we can't pay them. We start to give excuses here and there. So we are not ready. We are not ready. And for those that are saying I know the safety of the president matters. So it's this time we want to now buy another private jet. I mean, presidents stop traveling if you can't afford private jet now.
So in the
to organize a serious mass resistance against the military. And the second time I can remember was when you were one of those whom Chief MKO Abiola sent to talk to Abacha. And one incident that happened was that the security men tried to shove you away, and today you are the president of this country. Mr. President, you have a duty and a responsibility to succeed as a leader. As a leader who came from the trenches, from the tribes and generations of those who sacrificed their life in the defense of freedom. It is unfortunate that a whole like this, there are specific figures we have missed. We have missed the presence of Chief Gani Fawahimi. We have missed the presence of Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti. We have missed the presence of Alhaji Balarabe Musa. We have missed the presence of Dr. Bala Usman. We have missed the presence of Chima Obani. We have missed the presence of many who sacrificed their life in the defense of democracy. A day like this will not be complete without appreciating the role played by the likes of Colonel Abubakar Dangiwa Umar, the likes of Chief Abraham Adesanya, Alani Akao Boshorun, and the likes of Fred Eno. Mr. President, even though the governor of Kaduna State removed me from the seat, I will always remember that he was one of those who stood for us when we were in prison. He was among those who kept the torch of freedom alive while many of us languished in the cell. Mr. President, I would like to draw your attention to this fact and this truth. The national anthem cannot unite a nation. A national pledge cannot unite a nation. A constitution cannot unite a nation. A nation is united by the ideals of freedom. A nation is united by equity and by justice. Many younger generations of today have not and couldn't know the sacrifice we have made to restore democracy to this country. It is important that we bring to attention to those who were not here in those days of the struggle. This democracy was not a gift given to us by the military. It was not a lottery that we won. It was a product of struggle and sacrifice. There were people who were forced into exile, like the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, and the likes of Wole Soyinka. There were people who were sent to prison, like us. We're supposed to spend the first 15 years of our life in prison, but by the magnanimity of God, we were out. There were many who were dead. This democracy was a product of struggle. The Academic Staff Union of Nigeria made sacrifices. Nigerian media made sacrifices. The NUPENG, headed by the like of Franco Kori, made sacrifices. The National Association of Nigerian Students made sacrifices. This democracy was a product of that struggle, was a product of that commitment, and was a product of that determination. Mr. President, you have a duty to succeed. If you succeed, you will share your glory because you came from the trenches, you came from that struggle, you come from that period of struggle. Mr. President, if you fail, they will say that those of you who fought for democracy have nothing new to offer to Nigeria. We will pray for you, and we believe that the reforms which you have taken, there is no doubt about it, you too have recognized the untold hardship and the suffering it has inflicted on millions of people. But we are expecting that at the end of the day, it will bear fruit, and people will rejoice and say that the sacrifices that they have made, the consequences of that reforms, was something that was worth all this trouble. Mr. President, thank you for the honor and the privilege, and do something about the Nigerian prisons, because they were the ones who hosted us in those days and in those dark days of the struggle. Under the last call, Mr. President, there are some people who are still in detention as a result of the NSAS protest. They were young people who were protesting for justice, for freedom, and for democracy. Any young protester in Nigeria today learn from you, because you were the father of protest in Nigeria. Do something about it. Give them the freedom. You taught us, you funded us to stand up and fight. So they are your children and your grandchildren. Give them the pardon. Thank you and God bless.